just have to stay with it. Uh, throughout our rotation, we're just looking for consistency. However we have to get to it. Um, I know he wants to do more for the team. He really cares. That's what I really admire about him. And we just have to stay with it. Like it's a tough stretch right now. I feel like we're making progress, but it's frustrating. When it doesn't lead to wins, because you're not in it just for moral victories. But we do have to recognize, when there are tangible improvements, and we are seeing some of those. We have to, work for our breakthrough. Hopefully that's tonight.
The closing rotation, is that something you might have to adjust because it's a pattern, or is it still an in the moment thing?
I mean, we'll see. It's tough to compare. I mean, a lot of these games, some of the games were before the trade, some of the games where guys were out. So it doesn't really matter. It's just about doing what's necessary, to get a win. It's hard to win in this league. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. This season, you have to fight and have a desperate, collective energy that's consistent all the way through. And there has to be a collective spirit, which our group has. That's the part I think we can build on. There's a spirit in our locker room that usually indicates that things are going to start going in your direction. Doesn't guarantee anything, because it still is decided, in between those four lines. But there are some intangibles in this locker room. Guys, care about each other. They want to play well for each other. We just have to put it together.
I just wanted to ask you about coaches' challenges, whether or not you have any hard and fast rules about you don't want to use it until the fourth quarter, or what's your
I don't.
philosophy?
It's a little bit different, and I know our numbers are lower than other people's, but or other teams. Um, in previous years, I've tried to save them. Um, there are some things, in the first half where I would consider it. Um, and I'm also trying to build some trust with the players. You know, I always tell them like every call is like, I understand the competition committee, adding this, but I think it also just looks ridiculous. Every single play, the players are looking to the bench, doing this. It's distracting. Um, there really should just be one challenge. I think that would simplify things.
Coach,
Can't get it all right.
the Hawks, as just like you said, made a few changes since the last time we played. What do you focus on tonight on the defensive wise to play this team?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, regardless of the changes, the stylistic part of their game is still the same. They're second in pace. I mean, they play fast. They really get up and down the court. If you're not ready for that, there's a lot of relief points that they can stack up on you, and all of a sudden you're in a hole. Part of that pace is their disruptiveness. Defensively, Daniels is a big part of it, but they have speed and quickness throughout their roster, so they speed you up. They force turnovers, and then they turn those turnovers into open court transition opportunities. Take care of the basketball. Getting the shots that we want to get to is important, and then getting our first line of defense will be as important.
Coach, you're the second longest tenured coach in the NBA right now. After 17 seasons, the great Larry Bird, I remember, said 3 seasons is all the coach has before his voice starts losing that.
Great. You're trying to get me fired?
No, but how are you able to?
Well, I think it's much different too when Larry played in the league. There's so much more turnover with rosters. The Celtics had their core players for over a decade. That's not even realistic anymore.
No, well, I was actually referring as when he was a coach in Indiana. He said
Still, that was the '90s, early 2000s. That's not the way it is now. Rosters are turning over more. Player transactions are happening way more frequently. So, in some ways, it's a little bit more, like a college team that you're building. It's going to change year to year. Um, that's why I treasure, these relationships and coaching relationships that I've had with Bam and Tyler that are really unique in this league. I've worked with Bam now for 8 years. and then a summer, with the USA team. We have a different relationship than just coach to player. It's much deeper than that. And unfortunately, you don't get a lot of that in this league. I already starting to develop that with Tyler now. That just happens, over time. You can't fast track that sometimes, even though you try to, and that's what we're trying to do right now. We have 3 new players. We're going to fast track this, but I'm appreciative of those long-standing relationships. Even before that, with Dwayne and UD, we had so many different chapters, that we can smile, and when we get together for a glass of wine, we laugh about the different times where we weren't talking to each other, or where we love, it was great, and it's all part of the journey. But that's what deepens the relationship, is when you go through all of it. All right. Thank you.